Welcome to Bible Study with Fred. I'm in Proverbs 26:17. Let's have a Bible study. Proverbs 26:17. He that passeth by and meddleth with strife, belonging not to him, is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. Now, when I was young, my dad warned me not to get in between two fighting animals. He told me to stay out of other people's fights. We lived on a farm on the eastern shore of Maryland, and we had lots of animals, and some of them fought, especially the cats and dogs. This proverb tells us to stay out of a fight that is none of our business. As Matthew Henry pointed out, if we're not to be hasty to get into a fight on our own account, we most certainly shouldn't be meddling in someone else's business. Proverbs 25:8 says, Go not forth hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof, when thy neighbor hath put thee to shame. Moses thought he was defending his people when he interfered, but he didn't get the result he probably expected. Read Exodus 2:11-15. And went ahead of God's plan by 40 years. Josiah's death on the field of battle was due to a deliberate seizing of the dog's ears. See 2 Chronicles 35:20-24. Another thing that's pointed out by the commentators is that sticking your nose in someone else's strife is like grabbing a dog by the ears, because once you've gone that far, you're in deep trouble because he's going to bite you whether you let go or not. Ruckman pointed out that if you let go, you get bit, and if you hold on, you're not free to do anything else. How often have you been bitten by sticking your nose in a family dispute that was none of your affair? What about within the church? You thought you'd offer to be the mediator, but instead were viewed as taking one side or the other and attacked as well, and had a hard time extricating yourself from the mess. It's unfortunate for the many dead young men and women and children that they didn't, but our own government would have been wiser in the past to have heeded this advice and have not gotten into some issues between others that were not our business as a people. But as many historians have pointed out, war increases the government's power over its own people and lessens their freedom at home. So it is in the nature of a modern nation state, whenever possible, to get into someone else's fight if they can't conjure up their own. In the church, we are to try to avoid this kind of self-imposed disaster. And if we had the following attitude, most strife just wouldn't happen. Philippians 2:3 says, Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind let each esteem other better than themselves. This is one of those admonitions for Christians that we like to overlook because it's not pleasing to the flesh. The essential point here for a Christian is to mind your own business. Okay, Proverbs 26:18. As a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death, so is the man that deceiveth his neighbor and saith, Am not I in sport? Here we're told that the person who deceives another and when caught insists they were just joking, that it was all in fun, is like an insane person who does great bodily harm to another and insists they meant no harm. The act of deceit is akin to malicious physical behavior performed by a person who is, quote, off their rocker. Here the Christian is warned against jesting, which is making sport at someone else's expense, mocking them or their circumstance, and thinking it's funny. Notice the company jesting keeps with regard to various sins. Ephesians 5:3. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness let it not be once named among you, as become of saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Much of what goes on today as bullying begins as making fun of someone, jesting at their expense. It's not for a Christian to do that. But with this proverb, we're talking specifically about deception. We have our April Fool's jokes and our pranks. These can backfire. You don't know what mental state your victim is in, what they've gone through of late, or what they're pondering. Your, quote, harmless little deception might be the trigger that sets off a fire you did not expect. I've been guilty of everything I've spoken against at one time or another, so I know how things can go too far. This is particularly true of saying something about the person that isn't true, but we'll get to that next. Deception is lying, pure and simple. Colossians 3:9. Lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds. So for us, again, the principle here is that deceiving another person and insisting you are only joking when caught is as malicious as an insane person setting fire to their barn or shooting arrows at them and then, when caught, claiming it was all meant to be in fun. Can't you take a joke? So we'll stop there. We'll pick it up in verse 20 next. I'm asking you again. I always do this, and it's really important to me to ask you this, all right? I know you hear it every time if you listen to these regularly, but please open your Bible today and let God speak to you through his word. Study the Bible, cross-reference the verses. In both of those things, pray to God for wisdom and understanding, and then share your interpretation with someone else. Now, you can purchase my comments on Amazon, read them for free on Blogger. I'm going to post the links below. But if you watched this video this far, please click like and subscribe or follow and share the video with someone else. And I look forward to your comments, whether you agree or disagree. Thank you.